Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Leader Talk. I am SEAC retired John Wayne Troxell, retired U.S. Army, 3rd Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman. And today we're here to talk about situational understanding. And what does it mean to have situational understanding and why is it important? Now, if you notice, I'm wearing my shirt El Viejo. All right, which means old man, which by age I'm an old man, but the way I live my life, I can still get after it and everything. But I wear this shirt today, one, because it was a present from my lovely wife, Sandra, but two, I spent this week in El Paso, Texas. And I got down to the border to spend some time with our Customs and Border Patrol agents. And I also had some interesting events happen that had me get on this topic of situational understanding. So what is situational understanding? Well, first of all, it means you are not just aware of what's going on around you at all times and aware of where you're going and what you're doing, but you have an understanding. And how do you get that understanding? How do you go from awareness to understanding? Well, first of all, it's all about education and experience. If you know what you're doing, if you know the situation you're in, and you've done it before and you've got sets and reps at doing it, then chances are you're going to have a pretty good awareness, but you'll get to understanding. And you can see a couple steps ahead of what could happen in a situation that you're in. When I talk about experience, it's eyes-on experience, meaning you've done it before, you've seen it before, which allows you to be not just aware, but you understand how things can go or how things should go. Now, some people will look at that and say, well, that's kind of like living your life being paranoid. And I'm like, no, it's not, okay? It's living your life so that you understand what's going on around you. Some people in this world feel comfortable being aloof to everything around them. And they don't want to know what's going on or anything. And they're perfectly happy to be doing things that are wasting their time, when if we were situationally aware and we understood what was going on, we wouldn't be wasting time. Now, let me give you a few real simple examples. So a couple weeks ago, I was in California on a trip, and I was supporting an organization, a company that I consult for, and I was in a hotel in Sacramento, California. And as I came around the corner to go up the elevator to my hotel room, I noticed there was a lady standing right in front of both elevators, and she had her face buried in her phone. There were no lights illuminated in order to go upstairs in the elevator. And so I waited for a very painful 2 or 3 seconds, someone that prides himself on being situationally aware and understanding what's going on with me. And finally I said, ma'am, are you waiting to go up the elevator? And she goes, oh yeah, I'm waiting for it to come down. I said, ma'am, there's no lights lit up here. And she finally takes her face out of her phone and says, oh, I thought I hit the button there. Now that might be very simple, okay? But that's a clear case of someone that is choosing not to be aware or understand the situation that they put themselves in. Again, it could be something innocent and she just made a mistake, okay? Now, yesterday I flew home from El Paso, Texas. There was a flight coming off right by the bathroom where I was going to board my gate. And I went in to use the restroom. And as you entered the restroom, there was a narrow hall. And there was 4 gentlemen lined up in front of me. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people that were holding it in on an airplane, and all the urinals must be taken. But people were coming out left and right. And I'm like, why is our line not moving to go in and when there's people coming out? So I asked the gentleman up front, I said, hey, dude, you going to use a urinal? And he said, no, I'm waiting on a stall. And there was only 2 stalls in there. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, and I asked the gentleman behind him, are you guys waiting on a stall or a urinal? Well, I'm waiting on a urinal. I was like, okay. And as I looked around the corner, of the 5 urinals, there was 3 that was open. And again, something very simple, but why couldn't the guy up front say, hey, dudes, I'm getting ready to use the stall here, so if you guys got to use the urinals, knock yourselves out? Or why didn't the 3 gentlemen in front of me be inquisitive and say, why am I waiting in this line? But again, they had their faces stuck in their phones, and they were more than happy to be patient and wait on something that was a situation that they didn't understand. And in the end, it was a waste of their time. Now, again, some people may say that is, a very menial, trivial kind of thing and everything. But I will tell you how it can escalate. And if we get on this pattern of not being situationally aware or understanding, what it can lead to. Now, it was a couple months ago that a far left activist in New York City, he and his girlfriend were sitting on a park bench in New York City at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why they were sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't know. I've been to New York City plenty of times, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the safety of my hotel room. But anyways, so he's sitting there with his girlfriend, and a young gentleman comes by with his hoodie up and everything. He's out loud, he is cussing, and he is going through some kind of incident. And as he passed by them, there was a row of those scooters that you can rent and use in New York City, and this guy starts damaging them. And he starts vandalizing them and everything. And so this gentleman gets up with his girlfriend and decides, well, it's time for us to go home. We're going to walk straight towards this kid that's having this incident. It's a free country. He could do that, but a wiser man, someone that is situationally aware or situationally understood what was going on there, would say, all right, I'm going to cross the street, avoid this young guy, and I'm going to make my way home on the other side of the street. And then maybe I'll call the authorities to say, hey, you got a kid down there having an incident, he's vandalizing stuff and everything. But anyways, he starts walking towards the guy, and now the young gentleman who's having the incident thinks that this guy is there to confront him. And he turns around and he pulls out a knife. And as the gentleman tries to talk him down and everything, the kid was clearly over the top, and he ends up stabbing the guy. And not only did he stab him, he killed him. Now, I feel sorry for that gentleman and his family and his girlfriend and everything, but had he been exercising prudent risk based off of a situational understanding that, hey, I don't know what's going on with this gentleman, he's vandalizing scooters, he is yelling and screaming, he's having an incident, then I need to avoid him and call law enforcement, to come and assist and everything. But instead, he chose to avoid all that, and he went forward and ended up paying for it with his life. The bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, as we close this first segment, why is it important to have situational understanding more so than just situational awareness? Because this is how we prevent violent incidents from happening. The more you are aware of your surroundings and what's going on, the more you can see a potential violent act on you coming. And when it comes to terror attacks, terrorists around the world are banking on people will not be situationally aware or understand what's going on, and they will be aloof, and they will have their faces buried in their phones, and they will be easy victims for these terrorists. So, we're going to take a quick break here and hear from our sponsors at Downrange Supplements. When we come back, I want to talk to you about my trip to El Paso and spending it with the Customs and Border Patrol agents down there and why situational understanding is so important for them. So, let's take a quick break.
Downrange Supplements. As the brand of the troops, we produce only the highest quality supplements conducive to mission effectiveness. Whether it's our fully dosed pre-workout, recovery and rehydration, or Mermite protein, it's time to continually improve your fighting position with Downrange Supplements. Go to www.downrangesups.com today and take your training to the next level.
Hey folks, welcome back to Leader Talk. I'm John Wayne Troxell, your host. We're talking about situational understanding. And I mentioned in the first segment that I was in El Paso, Texas this week, and I did a lot of great things while I was there. I spoke to the current class of the U.S. Army Sergeants Major Academy. I also participated in an event known as Our Community Salutes. That is a salute to high school seniors that have chosen to join the military. But more importantly, I went to the southern border. And why did I go to the southern border? Because I give a shit about our country. I give a shit about the safety and security of it. I give a shit about the rule of law. And I wanted to hear from these wonderful men of Customs and Border Patrol on how things were going down there. And when you talk about not just being situationally aware, but have situational understanding, it is imperative that our agents on the border have situational understanding. Now, they have authority, they have law on their side, and they have good judgment, okay? But also, they have a certain set of politicians that want to make their job harder on them and think we should have open borders and porous borders so that anybody and everybody can come through. Because in some politicians' opinion, the more illegals that come through, that's more votes for them. And then think of the fentanyl drugs that are coming through and all the other drugs that are coming through that are having an impact. And, the number one killer in our nation, drug overdoses and everything. So I visited with these Border Patrol agents, and I was so impressed with how hard they're working down there on conditions that are just overwhelming. And they are understaffed, they are underfunded, and more importantly, they do not have the support of politicians that will allow them to get after their job. And this was evident to me when I talked to an agent in charge there, and I said, hey, brother, what do you need? You need more agents? You need more funding, more resources? What do you need? He says, I'll tell you what we need, consequences. What he meant was he and his agents are snatching people that have illegally crossed the border, some who are on terror watch lists, and have snatched them up multiple times as we've thrown them out of the country, and they continue to come back between the ports of entry to enter our country. When an agent in charge says something like that, consequences, all of us, but more importantly, the people in Washington, D.C. need to pay attention, because we will never get this fixed unless we listen to those people that have to get after the mission. But now that creates polarization in our country when we talk about situational understanding. Someone that practices situational understanding or attempts to be situationally aware and understood of what's going on around them at all times generally live their life with vision, purpose, and positivity. Because they have focused like this, they process information a little bit faster than someone who may be aloof or who is comfortable with their head buried in their phone or not paying attention to things and just trying to mind their own business and everything. And people that live with that vision and that purpose and can process information faster, they have conditioned themselves to do that. And it's not something that if you do this, then you'll be able to do this. It came naturally to them because this is the way they live their lives. But in the world we live today, where if you live your life like that, then you're criticized. I'm going to show you a quick video I did on a recent podcast I did with a very good friend of mine, combat veteran, retired military officer John Barry, on his veteran-led podcast. So let's play the video right quick. And a leader that leads with performance has vision and purpose in everything they do. And they move a little bit faster than other folks because of how they have conditioned themselves. They are, processing information a little bit faster, and because of their experience and what they've done in the past, they can see 2 and 3 steps down the road. It's like a chess match. Okay, that was me talking about this, vision, purpose, positivity kind of stuff, and the ability to process information faster so that you are situationally understanding what's going on around you and everything. But let me tell you, here is what someone said about that little segment I just did on social media. They said, this looks like right-wing propaganda to radicalize veterans. Now think of this. I am trying to get people, and I'm trying to help people to live better lives, stronger lives, by being situationally aware and understanding what's going on around them and having vision, purpose, positivity in everything they do. But here's someone, because I am trying to push that kind of stuff, that thinks I have some agenda that I am trying to radicalize people. Okay? This is what you get from people in this nation that choose to practice victimism. Meaning, feel sorry for me, I don't do anything wrong, everybody else does things wrong to me, and so give me this, give me that. No, I choose to live my life, and the vast majority of Americans choose to live their lives as champions. And that means that they are going to possess all the things I talked about. Be situationally aware. They are going to have vision and purpose. They're going to go out and live their life to their fullest, attempt to reach their untapped potential in the business world or whatever they're doing, and build economic prosperity for their family. And they are not going to blame anybody but themselves if they fail at something. But they're also the same kind of people that if there is something wrong out there and it needs to be fixed, they're going to champion a solution to get after that. They are not going to sit around and say, woe is me. So the bottom line is, situational understanding goes a long way to keeping people on the path to be successful in their lives. You know, I saw a video the other day of the Golden Gate Bridge being shut down because of these pro-Palestinian protesters. These were all young kids, you know, probably between the age of 18 and 25. The vast majority of them were not Palestinian Americans. They were Caucasian, they were Asian, other things. And the vast majority of them have no idea about the history of Israel and Palestine or the years of conflict that have happened there before. They are jumping on something that they don't fully understand. And in the end, all they're doing, and I've spoke about this on other episodes, is disrupting ordinary American lives. So the bottom line is, being situationally aware and understood and living your life with vision and purpose does not mean that you're trying to radicalize people. It means you are trying to help them be a better person. All right, we're going to take another break. We're going to hear from Downrange Supplements again. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about another spectacular event I had in El Paso called Our Community Salutes. We'll be right back.
How you guys doing? I'm Colton Smith, and I'm announcing right now, Downrange Supplements is in your local commissary. If you're anywhere near a base and you have base access, get to the commissary and check out our pre-workout, our rehydration BCA formula, and our protein. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It is the best in the market, and Listed 9 Fight Company, my brand, is partnered with Downrange Supplements for a reason, and I tell you, their products work. And also, don't forget, we kill suckers.
Hey folks, welcome back to segment 3 of Leader Talk. This is my 10th episode. I appreciate all the support for those of you that have subscribed to the channel, all our supporters, all of those people that check out our videos and our content. Thank you so much. Today we're talking about situational understanding and why that's important, even more so than situational awareness. And so I mentioned to you earlier, I spent the week in El Paso, and one of the events that I was a keynote speaker at is called Our Community Salutes. And this happened to be the OCS, Our Community Salutes event in El Paso. These things are done all over the country. And Our Community Salutes celebrates young men and women who are seniors in high school who have elected to join the United States military. And I spoke on this in earlier episodes. We have a recruiting crisis on our hands within the armed forces. And if that recruiting crisis doesn't get resolved, we could potentially have a national security crisis on our hands. But the ceremony I attended that night was one of the most phenomenal ceremonies I ever was a part of, and as a speaker. It was held at the University of Texas, El Paso, and it was supported by law enforcement. It was supported by the administration there at the campus. Heather Wilson, the president of UTEP, former Secretary of the Air Force, she spoke at the event that night. But the topic is situational awareness, situational understanding. And when I spent time with these young men and women that have made the decision to join the United States military, I saw some young men and women who knew exactly what they were doing. They were goal-oriented, and they knew that this is the direction they wanted to go with their lives. Now, they're young and they're going to make mistakes. They are part of this Gen Z that is all about their phones and all this other stuff. So their eye could be taken off a ball. But I was highly impressed with how focused these young men and women were. And when I saw that, I thought, this is why I'm proud to be an American. Because this generation of American, and those Americans I saw, over 100 of them, have chosen the same lifestyle and the same path that I had when I was 18 years old. And these are the future leaders of our nation. And I was so proud to be a part of that event and how aware they were of what they were getting into and the direction they were going. And God bless their parents who were there with them that are supporting them in their decision to join the greatest military in the world. So our warrior shout out this week goes out to all young men and women who have made the decision to join the United States Armed Forces. I spent 38 years in the United States Army, started as an E1. I retired as the senior enlisted guy in the Department of Defense. And because of that, I was able to retire. And I've done some things now that have built economic prosperity for my family. And I can build a better future for my grandchildren because of my military service and what I'm doing now. So my hat's off to all of these young men and women that were a part of the Our Community Salutes celebrations all across the United States that honor these men and women that are making the decision to join our military and to be the next ones in line to defend our freedom, our homeland, and way of life. God bless you all, and good luck to you. And that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you like what you see here, as I mentioned earlier, please subscribe to us. Tell us what you would like to see on here, because we're going to have some guests again, much like we had a couple episodes ago, but we want to provide content that's interesting to you and, more importantly, is important to the United States of America. Don't forget, Downrange Supplements, our sponsor, proud to have them. If you're a veteran or a military member, you can find Downrange Supplements in your commissaries. Want to change your life? You want to get more healthier, more strong? Get on Downrange Supplements. And don't forget about my book, Surrender or Die, Reflections of a Combat Leader, available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and on our website, pmehard.com. So thank you all very much. God bless you all. God bless America. We'll see you next time. Boom.